After being on the road for the entire month of May, St. Louis FC finally returned home to Toyota Stadium for this Eastern Conference clash between St. Louis FC and Toronto FC 2. Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us on this beautiful Friday evening in Fenton, Missouri. Tyler Terrens along with Bruce Silverman. And Bruce, this should be a fantastic matchup, and they are hungry for some football in St. Louis.
Beautiful night, always good to play at home, and there's the man that we're going to take a look at for Toronto. He's got 2 clean sheets, and he hails from St. Louis. He played for this St. Louis club, so it'd be nice for him to have a good night.
Mark Pace with 2 clean sheets this season. Toronto FC 2 with 5 clean sheets on the whole, and on the other side, a man who needs no introduction, 2013 MVP Jose Angulo.
Angulo is one of my favorite players of all time. He is a poacher in every sense of the word. You service him correctly, he will make the opponent pay.
Jose Angulo had that stunning free kick against Tampa Bay a few weeks ago, and now we'll take a look at the starting lineups presented to you by Cyberg's Family Restaurant, and with this partnership with Toronto FC in the MLS, sort of an ever-revolving door for Jason Bent.
Yeah, you don't see numbers like this very often. Number 64 is your top striker. Look for Ryan Telfer. He had a goal in that opening match against Phoenix, and one of only 3 on the season. He has not scored since. Take also a look at the first 30 minutes. That's where they've scored their 3 goals. And for St. Louis, a little bit more stable.
Absolutely. Jose Angulo will be paired with Christian Valesky up top. Tony Wall's getting the start in the middle of the pitch today for Preki.
Yeah, I'm looking for Angulo and Valesky. I mean, what is there, 7 goals between the 2 of them? They can light it up against this Toronto club if they want to.
Absolutely. Devala Goric in between the sticks for Preki as well, and that's how St. Louis is going to start. And as we said before, they are famished for some football here in St. Louis the whole month of May on the road back at Toyota Stadium, going head-to-head with Toronto FC 2 when we come back. Don't miss it.
Stop living with joint pain. Take the first step at mercy.net/knee pain.
With pre-collision system, lane departure alert, and more, Toyota Safety Sense is an advanced suite of active safety technology, now standard at no extra cost on 14 Toyota models. Tested, trusted, Toyota. Get 0% APR financing for 72 months on a new RAV4, or get $2,000 customer cash. Toyota, let's go places.
The best things in life are free, but you can give them to the birds and bees. I need more.
There's really only one place where the carpets are always red and the stars are everywhere you look. There's no place like Hollywood. Hollywood Casino St. Louis.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
When I get all steamed up, then I shout.
Tip me over and pour me out. Oh.
It only takes a moment to make a moment.
Cheers.
Take time to be a dad today.
Stop living with joint pain. Take the first step at mercy.net/knee pain.
Back here at Toyota Stadium, Tyler Terrens along with Bruce Silverman for this Eastern Conference clash. Glad to have you with us. And Bruce, what can we expect from these 2 teams tonight? St. Louis obviously has been on the road for the entire month of May, coming off a nice U.S. Open Cup match in the middle of the week. Toronto FC 2 has been struggling for the majority of the season.
Yeah, for Toronto, I think it's just a matter of trying to get in sync. And that's hard to do when you have an ever-evolving lineup, or revolving lineup is probably the better word. So they need to work on getting in sync. Now, I teased it a little bit in the open. They have scored at the 8-minute mark, the 10-minute mark, and the 30-minute mark. That means that they seem to find ways. Now, granted, they've played 11 games. They've only scored in 3 of them, and they were lone goals in each of them. But if they could score early and then put their foot on the gas rather than laying back, then I think they've got a shot in this game. For St. Louis, there's firepower. We know that. So if they can go and take their chances on this young club and take advantage of it, it will be a very long night, another very long night for Toronto too.
Absolutely. And again, we mentioned St. Louis coming off that midweek game, and sort of those midweek games can be a double-edged sword just because Sebastian Delgard, a guy who doesn't normally got the start, ended up scoring 2 goals in a big win, and now they get to host Chicago in a couple of weeks. And it just gives players an opportunity to get minutes, get some confidence. But on the other side, it's obviously taxing on the body. It's 90 more minutes for a lot of these players. And it's something that we're certainly going to have to keep an eye on as we progress through these 90 minutes.
Yeah, anytime you've got that U.S. Open Cup game midweek, it is tough because there's a lot of games, a lot of wear and tear. You've got travel sometimes. So coaches are challenged to kind of come up with lineups that will make sense for their club, not only in league play, but also hoping to advance in the Cup. We're underway now, and right away, Angulo chasing. That's a dangerous play right there. And they're really, Boyskovic is really going to have to worry about that because if Angulo's a little bit closer, it's already a 1-0 game 10 seconds in.
Jose Angulo has gotten on the score sheet early this season already, as we do have a foul called in the middle of the pitch by our head referee, Juan Guzman, who's in charge of all the important decisions in the middle of the pitch. And now it's time for the Mercy Sports Medicine injury report. We do have a couple of injuries for St. Louis, as it's Conrad Pleva with the quad injury and Mats Bierman with the hamstring. Both are listed as day-to-day, so neither of them available. Absolutely, Bruce. Again, underway here at Toyota Stadium. St. Louis back at Toyota for the first time in over a month. Did not play a home game in the month of May, but only had 2 USL games in May, being against Charleston and Tampa Bay. A 1-0 loss against Charleston, 1-1 against Tampa Bay. Those aren't bad results against 2 of the top teams in the Eastern Conference.
Not at all. And you talk about Angulo, who's right in the center of the circle, had an absolutely gorgeous free kick, bent it over the wall, put it in the upper 90, got the draw for St. Louis against one of the best teams in USL.
TFC2 with a little bit of possession here, trying to move it out wide. Stanley giving chase and ends up hitting the ground. Here's the service into the middle of the box. It's a good one. The initial clearance, not all the way out.
Tough opportunity to waste for Toronto. Really had an opportunity to put one past the keeper and just nobody home on that cross.
TFC2 coming off of a 1-0 loss to Cincinnati in their previous game. And again, as we mentioned, St. Louis defeating the Michigan Bucks of the Premier Development League on Tuesday, 2-1 over in Michigan. So they will have the opportunity to host the Chicago Fire on June 14th right here at Toyota Stadium. And what a moment for a team that's looking to get an MLS bid, and for players who may be even trying to get to the next level as well, to just be able to showcase their skills, and for St. Louis as a city to be able to have an MLS team come to Toyota as Gorick makes his first save of the night.
Gorick had to dive to his left, that shot from distance. I think if there was a little bit more on that shot, Toronto would have gotten on the board first.
Here's Stoikov sporting the captain's band today for Preki. Good movement here from St. Louis. Sebastian Delgard with the brace in their 2-1 win over the Michigan Bucks on Tuesday, and earning himself a start on the weekend as well on this beautiful Friday in St. Louis, Missouri. '17-year-old Stanley stripped of possession. The Norwegian Alseth trying to get free. And a solid tackle from Valesky coming back for his defensive responsibilities. And a shoving match here with Icom Andrews.
But credit Andrews to try to stop that play right there. Look, when you're a young team like Toronto is, you got to take a few more chances. You also have to announce your presence with authority because you don't want to be run over by guys that have more experience than you. So sometimes you can throw the older guys off their game a little bit by getting a little bit more physical.
Well, St. Louis certainly a possession-oriented team as they're looking for Jose Angulo over the top here. Angulo naturally left-footed. Here he is again. 4 goals and an assist on the season, looking for Valesky, but it's cut out. That touch a bit too heavy, but St. Louis able to recover, almost coughed it right back up. Nice little 1-2 here. Stanley on the latter half of it. Stanley trying to get service into the box. But TFC there to clear it out.
Yeah, that was tough. Stanley with a nice cross right into the mouth of the 18. St. Louis just unable to do anything with it.
A.J. Cochran getting a touch in. Ahead for Valesky again. There seems to be space in behind this T2 defense as Valesky was offside with the far side referee that's having his flag up.
Yeah, and that's tough. You know, you're on that all-out sprint. You're trying to catch up with the ball. You're going to kind of flirt with that line a little bit. Got a little bit too far. Early in the game, you also have to find out, you know, how much you can really get away with. You got that AR that's going to watch that line, but sometimes you can shade a little bit more than others. And to have an offside early in the game, you kind of get your gauge.
Dalgard taken down in the middle of the pitch, and Juan Guzman blowing his whistle.
Be interesting to see how much Guzman really lets these guys play. There's going to be some battles. There's going to be some bumps. Sometimes rubbing is racing.
And St. Louis going to be looking to keep the ball, Bruce, but at the same time with Toronto FC2 playing a 3-4-3, they're going to have 3 guys up front to try and pinch back those outside backs as well as the center backs and make it difficult for St. Louis to try to play that possession-based football that they love to play.
Well, with that 3-4-3, what you have is the ability to push numbers forward and fall back, you know, depending upon what you have to do. If you have to play defense, you can park the bus. If you want to go after it, you got the numbers to go after it. And St. Louis so far has kind of given them up until this point. But there's passes like that, if Toronto can do a better job of controlling the turnover, they could take advantage of it.
St. Louis with some nice football here to get out of a tight area. They found themselves right back in it as last touch is off Sebastian Dalgard. Not pleased with the call from Guzman, but able to win the ball back between the legs of Luis Pereira.
Yeah, what Toronto needs to do is not make as many mistakes, and that goes for anybody. But Toronto needs to limit their mistakes when they have opportunities to push forward. If you're going to make a mistake in the middle. Don't make a mistake when you're on the edge of your third, because then it's just a wasted trip down the pitch.
Well, it seems to be a reoccurring theme with this Toronto team as here's a turnover from St. Louis. And now here's Alseth, Syracuse product, trying to find runner in the middle of the field. It looked like it was Camargo who he was looking for. But again, this is a Toronto team, as we mentioned earlier, Bruce, who have 5 clean sheets, but 4 of them being 0-0 draws. They seem to be able to defend, but they can't put it together in the final third.
Yeah, but here's an opportunity. The problem is he's got nobody to pass it to right now, so he's got to do it himself, and he gets ridden off the ball, and that's Hundle.
And that was Hundle getting shoved off the ball by A.J. Cochran, putting in a great challenge, and it had to be as Hundle was right in the neighborhood, about to put a service into the middle of the box. But like you said, Bruce, nobody home to be able to slot it home on the other end.
Yeah, that's a tough thing is when you get the turnover and you run, there's got to be players running with you. If you're left all alone, you end up being one-on-one with the keeper if you can get past the defender. There were more defenders than there were guys in white shirts, and that presents the problem.
Cabosetta getting the start along with A.J. Cochran at the center back position tonight. Cabosetta, 24-year-old out of Costa Rica. St. Louis still trying to find a rhythm early on, just seeing what T2 is going to give them on the other end, just trying to figure out how far those outside midfielders are going to come back, because with 3 backs, you need your wingers to be able to basically go box to box on either end to fulfill their offensive and defensive responsibilities.
Right now, St. Louis is basically being reactionary.
Dalgard. putting it into the mix and throwing themselves a corner.
There was an opportunity for St. Louis because he was in an all-out sprint, probably had to pass that ball before he would have wanted to, given the fact that if he didn't get to it, it was going to go past the line and would have been a kick for Pays. But here is an opportunity. This is where St. Louis can make their mark. It's the experience versus the youth. And these set pieces, if they're well played and well positioned.
Ali Hatsevich sends it into the box. It gets through momentarily, as that corner was brought to you by Electro Credit Savings Union.
And there was a wasted opportunity for St. Louis. Nobody there to get the rebound and to put it back in. Ball travels out. Now St. Louis is going to have to reset everything.
Dahlgaard trying to get around one defender, does very nicely here. Sending it to the middle for Valesky, but he's stripped right at the last. Good movement, though, from St. Louis, who are knocking on the door, still might have it, and are continuing to put pressure on this young Toronto team.
Yeah, Toronto's showing me something early on. They're getting the turnovers. They're moving it forward. They're shutting down the opportunities that St. Louis has. The tough thing is they've done it for 10 minutes. Now they got to do it for another 80 minutes.
Tackle put in, sent towards Valesky. And it'll be Mark Pace who claims it. Again, the man who hails from St. Louis, used to play for St. Louis FC. 2015-16 seasons. Also attended St. Louis University, was a Billiken for a couple of years and then transferred to Tulsa. And his first time back at St. Louis and Toyota Stadium. TFC2 on the move into the area. Andrews with a strong header, but it's claimed by Gorick.
But really nice play. Perfect pass in, and he put everything he could on the header. Easy save for Gorick. But what that's showing Toronto is they can carry the ball down the pitch and they can take their shots on goal.
And Gulo taken down. It'll be a set-piece opportunity for St. Louis. And it has to be said that obviously these Toronto FC 2 players, most of them are extremely young, brought up through the academy or some academy somewhere in the United States or abroad, and they have the talent, but it's just a matter of being able to put it together for 90 minutes and going up against guys who have been in the league for 8-9 years or played professional soccer for that long.
When you talk about the youth and experience, that's where a year ago, we'll get to that in a second.
As the free kick always going over the line.
And to me, that is an absolute waste of an opportunity. Yes, you're from distance, so keep it short and mount an attack around the 18. Why put the ball? Nobody was sprinting on the ball. Nobody was going towards the 6, so that's just an absolute waste of an opportunity. Point I was going to make before about Toronto and the youth and the inexperience, if this game is played a year ago, I think it's a more advantaged Toronto game from this standpoint. 5 substitutions versus 3. You can get more experience to more players, but now it's 3 substitutions on each side. The game becomes a little bit more strategic for both managers.
TFC2 on the move again, and Cabaseta has to take the easy way out. And it looks like it's going to be a corner for Toronto, as it's not the best clearance from Cabaseta.
No, not at all. I mean, he wasn't under pressure to clear that ball out. He could have taken a little bit more time. Could have put it right there, just so it's a throw-in and not a corner. So great opportunity for Toronto. Let's see what they decide to do. Camargo is on this one. He's got the in-swinger.
Again, this corner presented to you by Electro Savings Credit Union, as Andrews is trying to let it run through, and the deliveries out wide from Toronto haven't been spectacular just yet, as they send it into the box again. A strong header from the St. Louis back line. Valesky taking too heavy of a touch, and it's right back to TFC2. Nice job from Wes Sharpie cutting that out. Spent some time with Toronto FC2 as well.
wasn't particularly a fan of that long play. You're a young team. You've got your feet on the ball. Carry it forward. Try to mount an attack. Those over-the-top chip shots, if they're on target, hey, it's great. But there's another turnover. Carry the ball, pass station to station, move the ball into that final third to mount an attack. Just too many wasted opportunities getting from the middle third to the final third.
Here's Cochran striding forward from the center back position, finding the feet of Angulo, trying to chip it for Delgard. It's a good ball, but he has to chase after it. Delgard shoved from behind by McCrary, and it will be a foul on number 45. Or rather, number 46, Jordan McCrary, the 23-year-old out of Alpharetta, Georgia.
Yeah, McCrary, this is just a mistake. You want to get up on him, but you don't want to commit the foul, because now what you've done is essentially given a slightly shorter corner kick.
It'll be a makeshift corner, and it's Ali Hadzic on top of it, who seems to be the set-piece specialist on the evening for Preki. Here's the ball in towards the back post. And it was a decent ball, but it goes all the way out of bounds, and a goal kick coming for Mark Pace.
Not much that Pace had to do with that particular exchange. And again, for me, St. Louis is not taking advantage of the chances and the opportunities that Toronto is giving them. And, you know, you talk about the experience that is on this club. There are guys on this club from St. Louis, played a lot of years in the pros, and they're making rookie mistakes, especially on set pieces. St. Louis is going to go into the locker room at halftime, and they're going to say, we had some great opportunities, and we just totally did not take advantage of them, at least through the first 16 minutes.
And there you see Preki right on top of Aiden Stanley as he's trying to get out of some trouble here, and Preki is a man who has seen so much football, played so much quality football, coached a lot of quality football in his career, and certainly a man who pays attention to the details, and set-piece opportunities are details, something that you work on in the training ground day in and day out, as there's a bad mistake from Toronto at the back and an opportunity for St. Louis to operate in their defensive third.
Great throw in, nutmeg.
And it will be a corner for St. Louis.
Solid defensive play to make sure that that didn't get anywhere close to Pace.
Whoop! Beautiful move from Wes Sharpie, disrespecting his old teammates.
Yeah, Boskovic is going to have nightmares about that one tonight.
Again, this corner provided to you by Electro Savings Credit Union. Ali Hadzic on top of it. Another set-piece chance for St. Louis. Can they convert? It's an outswinger. St. Louis up for the header. Here's Walls, fending off two Toronto defenders at the moment. And he's going to make the wise play. And down this left side for Sebastian Delgard. Here's Walls.
They've been chipping into that corner basically since the opening tip, and they just haven't been able to convert on it. Nice move and some speed down that side.
Early ball in. Not going to trouble anybody, as Toronto simply could not get enough numbers forward in time, but it will stay with the team from the North Country in St. Louis's territory.
Ryan Telfer was the man who was on the run with the ball at his feet. Told you to look at him at the beginning of the match. Scored a goal 8 minutes into the very first game of the season against Phoenix Rising. Opportunity there. That speed kills. You can't teach speed. And if they can get him running full out, either with or without the ball, good things can happen for Toronto.
Some good things in the making here for St. Louis as they're creeping their way up the field. Out wide for Delgard. Nice touch with his noggin. Trying to get to the byline. In a race with Allseth. Able to hang on to it. The referee says play on. As Allseth and Delgard got tangled up, Allseth looked like he got the worst of it.
Still
and
down.
Toronto just going to play it out of bounds now. And we'll take another look at exactly what happened on that particular play.
Both players sprinting towards the ball, all set, trying to get position. I like the no call. Somebody lands on you, there's a reason why you're going to stay down for a bit.
You like the no call, though?
I do, actually. On that one, I thought that Allsmith actually got around and was going to make the play. And if anything, I would have actually, after that, I think I would have called it on St. Louis if I had to make a call. But I like the no call.
Not exactly sure the St. Louis contingency would agree with you there, but only opinion that matters, I guess, is Jose Guzman.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like the fact that Guzman is going to let them play. You know, a little bumping is not that bad. What's tough about this with Allsmith is the fact that it's on turf. I think if this is on grass, he's probably up by now. It looks like he just took a blow, got the wind knocked out of him, and you hope that it's nothing more than that. You know, but the good thing is it wasn't a head injury. And really, it was just a good play towards the corner. For me, what I want to see out of St. Louis, I want to see them take their chances in the middle of the pitch. They have gone time and time again, especially down that left side. The only time I've ever seen St. Louis really try to get Angulo into the action, it's been in the corner of the 18 on the right side. I want to see Jose Angulo get the ball in the middle so that he's got chances. But right now, St. Louis is playing Angulo out of the play. But good to see that Allseth is up and walking. He'll get a breather, and he'll be right back into this game.
Fans, be sure to visit one of the 7 local St. Louis area Toyota dealers. As it looks like Allseth will be able to continue a nice gamesmanship between him and Sebastian Delgard, and St. Louis will do the right thing and give it back to Mark Pace, and will resume play here at Toyota Stadium. Again, Tyler Terrens along with Bruce Silverman. First time that St. Louis FC has been back here at Toyota Stadium for more than a month after going the entire month of May without playing a match, but they did pick up a couple of crucial U.S. Open Cup victories that have now earned them the right to host the Chicago Fire right here at Toyota on June 14th. A great moment to host Bastian Schweinsteiger and the rest of the Fire as St. Louis moving out on the right wing. Stoikov trying to get through a couple of defenders, still on top of it. Aiden Stanley getting in on the mix. Stanley, the 17-year-old academy product, driving towards the byline, trying to get service across, cut out by Allseth. And it will be a St. Louis corner yet again.
Want to see them actually set up a play. The services on these corners have been a little erratic. They're not finding a target man. Let's look at what's going on inside the 6 right now. Everybody is marked and marked heavy. There's only 3 St. Louis players inside the 6.
Ali Hadzic, good ball in towards the back post. There's the header, and it's in. And it's A.J. Cochran with the goal for St. Louis FC. A great early moment for the home side. They lead 1-0 over Toronto.
What was great about that exchange is the ball is put over everybody in the 6. Everybody in the 6, I mentioned it, was marked up. But he put it over the 6, and you've got A.J. Cochran who's sprinting towards the ball. Watch him come in. Boom. Gets his head on it, and there's absolutely nothing that Pays can do.
Well, you were mentioning how you would wanted to see a play, and it looked like that they loaded the front side and they were trying to distract Pace. And then one of their best headers of the ball, A.J. Cochran, was loose on the back post. They wasn't accounted for. And all he had to do was put the head to the ball.
Absolutely the best set piece they have had in this game, and obviously because they scored, right? But what was nice about that play, and this is a turnover they can't afford to give up right after a goal.
Valesky trying to maneuver his way over by the byline. Not exactly happy with the call from Guzman, but it will be a goal kick for Mark Pace.
But anytime Toronto wasn't giving them anything inside the 6. Right in front of Pace, there was absolutely nothing that they can do. Very smart to throw that ball up in the air and to find the man sprinting in.
So A.J. Cochran with his first goal of the season. Ali Hadzic with his first assist of the season. And St. Louis have the early 1-0 lead, looking for more, but it's cut out by Allset. McCrary having to deal with a challenge from Ali Hadzic, but it was a great ball in towards the back post, and Cochran made no doubt about it. With all the numbers at the front post, Mark Pace was preoccupied and unable to get towards the back post where A.J. Cochran would wind up.
Oh, great ball.
Here's Andrews. A good recovery.
Played himself right out of it, too. This is gut check time for Toronto. How they react, how they respond to that goal and to that set piece will set the tone for the rest of the match. They can end up being, look, they've only scored in 3 of their 11 games. That's 8 games that they did not score. I did that without a calculator too, Tyler. So they go in and they have not scored in 8 games. They don't want to make it a 9th. They had a 1-0 loss the last time out to Cincinnati. Look, that's one of the best teams in this league. You played them to 1-0. You can hang your hat on that. That's one of those losses that you can actually take lessons away from. But you don't want to come back and play St. Louis on their turf and then not score again.
But on the other side for St. Louis, a team that hasn't had a USL win since April 6th, you couldn't ask for a better start after playing away from home for over a month.
Look, you energize the fans, and you see them all along the sideline there and into the corner where the supporters group is. This is a good goal for them. They hadn't taken advantage of the set pieces that they had before, and they've had a number of them in this game. Now you've got a foot race.
Christian Valesky sent into space, still on it. Valesky around a couple defenders, slipping it through for Delgard. Delgard with the shot. Oh, and it's just whiskers wide. You can see the reaction from Valesky. All the work done by number 9. Number 7 just had to slot it home, but Dalgard unable to put the finishing touches on it. Remains 1-0 St. Louis.
Dalgard is going to have absolute nightmares. His eyes were wide open. Credit to Pays to shadow over a little bit to make the angle that much tougher. And Dalgard just tried to do too much with the shot and pushed it wide. Otherwise, that was about the best offensive push that St. Louis has had so far.
Here comes Toronto on the other end. Telfer with the shot. Oh, and it just skips wide. Gorick might have gotten a touch to it. I believe he did, and it will be a corner for Toronto, so a great chance at one end, and we have another at the other.
Love the counter by Toronto and heads-up play to take the shot from distance. You know, you're out in front. In your periphery, you don't see any teammates. You can slow it down, or you can just take your chances. And obviously, great save by Gorick, and now we've got a corner coming up.
It'll be Sergio Camargo on top of it, as it looks like the referee is sorting out some extracurriculars in the box at the moment, or perhaps something wrong with Devala Gorick's apparel.
Looks like he hurt his hand on the save.
And you might be right, Bruce. Devala Gorick has been the main man between the sticks for Preki all season long. 29 years old, out of Moundsville, West Virginia. Came from Colorado Springs Switchbacks, was a 2016 USL Goalkeeper of the Year nominee a year ago. And we'll take another look at what happened on that shot from Telfer.
Can't really see from that camera angle. And what's interesting, maybe just Telfer just got off a whale of a shot, had a lot of pace on it that kind of stung inside that glove. You take a look at the option number 2, and it would be difficult for St. Louis inside the first third of this game to have to go and make a substitution at goal. Changes the complexion of the entire game in terms of how you substitute down the road.
Well, if Gorick were not able to continue, it would be Adam Grinwis, but the man from West Virginia will continue for now as the service does not get past the first defender. Going to go back to Allseth. Chipped back in by Pereira. And Stanley just going to see that one out of bounds. Another opportunity for Toronto goes by the wayside.
Camargo just did not put a good ball in. Toronto was lucky enough to get the ball back and then not able to do anything. Toronto needs to get Telfer more involved in this game. He has been the catalyst of moving the ball forward. Good shot on goal earlier that might have hurt the hand of Gorick a little bit. They've got to get him more active, and so far they haven't been able to do that.
Stanley trying to send it down the line, but cut out nicely by a Toronto defender. Almost played a half an hour here at Toyota Stadium. St. Louis got on the board via A.J. Cochran, thanks to an assist off a corner from Amir Alihadzic. Fans, stay up to date on the latest USL news and information from around the league. Tune into USL Coast to Coast with Mike Watts, Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on SiriusXM FC, Channel 85. Also, don't forget, SiriusXM FC will air the USL Game of the Week. Please check USLsoccer.com for dates and times. Walls showing a bit too much there to Pereira. And now TFC2 off to the races, out for Telfer. Telfer goes for the early delivery, forcing a challenge at a Cabosetta. And the St. Louis contingency here at Toyota Stadium applauding the defense from their home side.
Yeah, nice job by Toronto to get the ball in and try to make something happen. They need to do that. And there is just a huge mistake. You cannot give the ball up when you're sitting in the lower third. You just can't. You're down by a goal. You have the opportunity to get something on Gorick. You know that his hand is hurt right now, whether he stays in the game or not. Force things on him. Make him work.
Cochran slipping it through for Valesky. Took a nice initial touch, but was eventually stripped of the ball. As Sean Hundle gets fouled in the middle of the pitch, and it'll be a free kick for Toronto.
Toronto just has to take advantage of this. Depending upon where they put this ball down. So, yeah.
Toronto electing to play short here.
Mount the attack from behind, but they got to put more pace on those passes. He's got to go backwards on it rather than taking it and going forward because he's feeling the pressure of a defender.
Alihadzic put in a decent challenge, but Toronto was able to come away with the ball at the end. Out wide for Telfer again. He has one of the 3 goals for TFC2 this season. Telfer sizing up Sharpie, driving towards the byline, trying to square it back across, but there was Cabosetta, and a nice sliding challenge / pass from Tony Walls. And now St. Louis off to the races on the other end, but Jose Angulo, the veteran that he is, going to put a foot on the ball and slow things up.
Now St. Louis is going to try to mount an attack from behind. Again, where's Angulo? There's been pressure by St. Louis. Nice defensive play by Toronto, but they're not getting Angulo involved.
Camargo finding Andrews. Icom Andrews shows a big touch to Stanley, who puts in the initial challenge, but a good job from Andrews to hang on to it. Camargo again, out wide for Alseth.
And the problem with that is he's hearing footsteps.
And here footsteps on the other end as Valesky is in. Pace comes off his line, makes a nice sliding challenge, and denies Christian Valesky, who is in on goal. A great ball in from Angulo, but the former St. Louis man, Mark Pace, was up to the task.
Yeah, great ball by Angulo. Led him perfectly, and credit to the keeper for making sure that that lead wasn't doubled up.
Soccer fans, Nike is an official sponsor of the USL. For more information, visit NikeSoccer.com. Stanley doing very well here to keep it in bounds as well as keep possession as he eventually gets fouled, and Jose Guzman sees that there was no further advantage. And we'll take another look at that last opportunity from Valesky that was snuffed out by Pace.
Yeah, credit to Angulo, just perfectly slotted pass, and Pace just comes up huge. He reads it well. Better angle for this pass. Led perfectly. If Pace is even a half a step late, it's a 2-0 game.
Delgar trying the return pass for Stanley as the two of them have been linking up here on the left wing. And also should be said that the turf obviously has something to do with this as well. If that's a weighted ball on grass, maybe it holds up a little bit, but the playing surface, obviously the same for both teams, but it's just a little bit slicker than it would be on grass.
Well, on grass, maybe he doesn't catch up with that pass. Maybe it's not even that dramatic a save by Pace.
I guess we'll never know.
But it's fun to speculate.
Absolutely. Always is. Here's St. Louis throw-in deep in Toronto FC 2 territory.
For St. Louis, I still want to see them mount an attack from the middle. For Toronto, I want to see them move the ball from station to station. I want to see them get away from dumping it forward and chasing it down. You're giving up too many opportunities that way. St. Louis is too much of a veteran club not to read the dump and chase. Now Toronto is going to have to reset everything from the back.
Valesky giving chase here, giving McCrary some problems, and it'll force Mark Pace to go long. Pereira bringing it down. The crowd here at Toyota Stadium asking for a handball, but they're not going to get it from head referee Jose Guzman.
Guzman didn't really have a good angle on that to know if it was off of the arm or off of the shoulder.
Andrews taking a big touch here. Harassed by Tony Walls, but it'll stay with Toronto. St. Louis just trying to pick their spot here, when to go and try to maybe force a turnover in Toronto's defensive third. And again, forcing Pace to go long, but St. Louis doing a good job of clogging up the middle. They don't really have any opportunity to play out of the back.
If the ball is not at your feet, you can't go forward with it. And just kicking the ball and hoping that somebody's going to win a 50-50 isn't much of an offensive strategy.
Sharpie finding the feet of Stoikov, who gets a push in the back from Baksavic.
I like a lot of these individual efforts that we're seeing from Toronto. They're standing up the St. Louis ball handler. They're getting the ball away. Play on that one. But they're doing a nice job of disrupting St. Louis. The problem is once they disrupt or once they get the steal, they're not doing anything with it. There's nobody there to help out. It's almost like 11 guys are individually on this pitch wearing white shirts. If they can get together, and we talked about it, Tyler, at the beginning, when you keep rotating the lineups, the big thing about soccer is you want to know what the tendencies are of your teammates. Do they want the ball to the left? Do they want it to the right? Do they want to be led? And if you're not familiar with your teammates, then it's just chaos out there. So I like the individual performances that I'm seeing, but I want to see some continuity. I want to see some teamwork. String some things together like this.
Right on cue, as Bruce Silverman so nicely put it, but Camargo stripped right at the last by Cabalcetto, who's looking to operate quickly on the other end, finding Valesky. The flag stays down. Angulo on the left side, but Valesky goes towards the right. Out wide for Stoikov, the captain on the evening. Has Sharpie overlapping. That's who he chooses, but it's snuffed out by Telfer, who was in a foot race with the former TFC2 man, Wes Sharpie.
Yeah, it's hard when Angulo's sitting wide open and your back's to him and you don't even know that he's there. Need a rear view mirror on something like that, and body's just not equipped that way. For Toronto, it was a great attack going forward. They got to that final third and they broke down.
All Seth looking to go down the line. Aiden Stanley giving chase. And it'll be a throw-in for St. Louis, who have a 1-0 lead thanks to a goal from A.J. Cochran by a corner from Alehadzic.
Opportunity for both teams to get a little bit of a breather on that, as this has been pretty high octane going back and forth. Not a lot of opportunities for either team to catch their breath. Nice individual effort right here. Ball in front. Snuffed out defensively inside the 6. Great opportunity for Toronto. It was there, and the shot just was not taken.
Well, it was Cabal-Seta who ended up putting in the last-ditched effort. And he's had a very nice game so far, paired up along with A.J. Cochran, the goal scorer of the evening.
So here's where I love it. Individual effort gets inside the box. The pass is there. You got to take the shot. Hundle just has to get his foot on there. He can't wait for it.
Challenge from Cabal-Seta was world-class, and Devala Goric thanking his defender for his efforts. It's a set-piece opportunity for TFC2. Pereira on top of it will be an in-swinger. Good ball in towards the back post, but dealt nicely by St. Louis. Stoikov taking just too big of a touch there.
We'll see, Tyler, if we can go back at some point and take a look at that corner kick again. Toronto ran away from the ball rather than to the ball. And it was a nice ball. They could have done a lot with it, but instead of running to it, they were running away from it. Easy way for St. Louis to step in front.
Well, we've played 40 minutes so far. A.J. Cochran, the difference maker at the moment. St. Louis looking for their first USL win since April 6th, the win at Pittsburgh against Dave Brandt and the Riverhounds. Jose Angulo and Christian Valeskis were the goal scorers in that order. And looking to pick up a big 3 points here. In very good form in the month of May, picking up 2 big U.S. Open Cup matches, as well as putting in very solid efforts against the top 2 teams in the Eastern Conference, Charleston Battery and Tampa Bay Rowdies. Pereira. Big touch here from Camargo, out wide for Telfer. Numbers in the box for Toronto. Telfer will go back for Camargo. Pereira again. Out for Telfer, delivering the service. Cochran is there, goes over his head. Stanley doesn't get too much of it. And Cabal-Seta again to the rescue. But it'll stay in St. Louis's end. Nervy moments here right at the end of the first half. Telfer putting on all the moves, sends a cross in that goes back out wide towards Alseth. Now there's a strike from distance. It hits Cabal-Seta, and Cabal-Seta hits the ground and hard. And the referee motioning for the physios to come on immediately here.
You never want to see, one of the biggest things for me in sports are head injuries. And that was just a rocket shot. There was nothing he could do about it. We'll get a look at it. Yeah, that just absolutely rings your bell. If he passes his concussion test, I am going to be shocked. Because that was just a rocket shot. It's probably one of the most dangerous plays in this game. Yes. Your instinct is to play the ball. Your instinct is to play it with your head. He did it, but he just went down like a load of bricks. And wow, I am shocked that he's even up this quickly. More shocked if they don't take him through the concussion protocol.
Well, it appears that Cabal-Seta is okay for the moment. He'll obviously be looked at probably at halftime. Fans, the USL is one of the most prominent second division professional leagues in the world, featuring some of the game's top talent and rising stars. Stay up to date with all the latest league news and information by visiting www.uslsoccer.com and follow them on Twitter at USL. So we'll resume play here in the 44th. Eric Cabal-Seta appears to be okay. The 24-year-old Costa Rican, I guess we'll call him a tough cookie at the very least.
Whether he continues or not, that was an absolute shot to the head. What's disappointing for Toronto, aside from, you always want to make sure that a player is okay, that shut down the offensive attack they had going at that time. But Guzman doing the right thing, because the game doesn't matter the health of the players does.
So right now, St. Louis playing with 10 players, and it looks like Cabosetta is heading over to midfield to come back into the game. Tony Walls slid back into a defensive position just so that St. Louis weren't down a man in their own defensive third. And Cabosetta back out onto the field to play. And we are back to 11 aside. TFC2 pressing very high up the field, looking for a turnover. They're going to get it. It's a matter if they can hang on to the ball, and they do. Pereira will send it back. And good defensive prowess from Jason Bentside, who are looking for their first 3 points since the first game of the season on March 25th.
Toronto taking their time, moving the ball forward. Stanley will make sure that they don't get past midfield. 4 minutes of stoppage time, and that's about where I expected it would be between the injuries and the goal scorer.
And stoppage time brought to you by Hot Shots. Be sure to visit one of the 12 local Hot Shots locations after the match.
If you're St. Louis and you're taking a look at this first half, you're okay with it. You're going to go as it stands right now. If they go into the locker room 1-0, you go into the locker room with the lead. That's what you could be happy about. But I think overall, St. Louis not as sharp as probably they should be. If you're Toronto, you've done a lot of things right, and there's a lot of things to build on. I still think that the best play that they've had is when they've gone station to station and mounted the attack one touch at a time. When they started just flying the ball from left to right, there were just too many turnovers. And I still think get Ryan Telfer more involved. He has been the catalyst from that right side.
As well as Camargo, who ends up winning that ball from Tony Walls in the middle of the field. As we enter the second minute of stoppage time here in the first half. A.J. Cochran with the lone goal in the first half of play, thanks to a corner from Ali Hadzic.
And credit Toronto for basically shutting that man down right there. Jose Angulo, who is our player to watch for St. Louis, they have basically surrounded him. He's had limited touches and no shots on goal.
And maybe a little bit frustrated there. It goes into a heavy challenge. And Nix McCrary, or rather Luis Pereira that was.
And Pace is going to take his time on this one, but an opportunity to get the ball down the pitch, see what Toronto can do late in this first half.
Stoikov did well to win it, but the pass for Valesky just out of Christian's reach, and now here comes Camargo on the other end for Telfer, sliding it back across. An opportunity for TFC2. It's blocked by Stanley, and it had to be. Looked like it was Sean Hundle who got the shot off, but Aiden Stanley, the 17-year-old academy product, doing extremely well to put his body in front of the ball.
Hundle just took too long to get that shot off. Had the opportunity, took way too much time to pull the trigger on that shot. And that's a shame because I think he had the angle. If he pulls it a little bit quicker, maybe you go into the locker room one apiece with a lot of momentum. But corner coming up, let's see what Toronto decides to do with this one.
Camargo's delivered a couple of nice services here, and TFC2 trying to equalize right at the last of the first half here. It's a good ball in, but the header won initially. Now the shot back in is blocked by Angulo.
It's interesting, we're already in this final minute of stoppage time. Toronto could basically control the ball until the whistle. See how much patience they have in trying to get this last second shot off.
Andrews looking for the big sweeping ball towards the other side of the field. That was cut out nicely. Stoikov giving Robert Boksavic all that he can handle and then some. And that's going to do it for the first half from Toyota Stadium. A.J. Cochran's goal in the 23rd is the difference maker at the moment, and we'll move into halftime, which is brought to you by Hollywood Casino. St. Louis 1, Toronto FC 2-0 at the half here in Fenton, Missouri. As St. Louis looking to get their first 3 points in the USL since April 6th, the win against the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, as we are headed to our halftime show, again brought to you by Hollywood Casino.
Stop living with joint pain. Take the first step at mercy.net/knee pain.
With pre-collision system, lane departure alert, and more, Toyota Safety Sense is an advanced suite of active safety technology, now standard at no extra cost on 14 Toyota models. Tested, trusted, Toyota. Get 0% APR financing for 72 months on a new RAV4, or get $2,000 customer cash. Toyota, let's go places.
The best things in life are free, but you can give them to the birds and bees.
There's really only one place where the carpets are always red and the stars are everywhere you look. There's no place like Hollywood. Hollywood Casino, St. Louis.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
When I get all steamed up, then I shout.
Tip me over and pour me out. Oh.
It only takes a moment to make a moment.
Cheers.
Take time to be a dad today.
Stop living with joint pain. Take the first step at mercy.net/knee pain.
Halftime here at Toyota Stadium. St. Louis 1, Toronto FC 2-0, thanks to a goal from A.J. Cochran in the 23rd. But first, we're going to take a look at a feature on St. Louis's own number 12, Tyler David.
Hi, I'm Ashley Anton here at Mission Taco. I'm going to let you get more of an inside look into one of your favorite STL FC players, Tyler David. Tyler, are you ready?
I'm ready to go. Let's do it.
Okay, what is on your playlist in your car?
I'm kind of like the team DJ a little bit, so I like to mix it up, and I have a bunch of different playlists. I like hip-hop a lot, but I would say for every game and almost every training session, we have different playlists in the locker room, so you could catch me listening to a lot of different things.
If there was one song that played when you came out on the field, what would that song be?
Well, this just came to mind, actually. Since we're from St. Louis, since we all love Nelly, right? Here Comes the Boom by Nelly in The Longest Yard. That's got to be us coming out on the field.
If you were not playing professional soccer, what would you be doing right now?
I would probably be a coach. I still do kind of coach now, but I don't know if it'd be professional, college, what it would be, but I like to coach a lot, so a coach somewhere.
And tell me, if there was one celebrity or athlete that you would like to meet, who would it be, and what would you say to them?
Do they have to be alive?
No.
Muhammad Ali. And I would ask him about his motivations, not only in the ring, but out of the ring, for all the different political views he had and how he made a stand.
Very cool. If it was your last meal, I need to know, what is your entree, what is your dessert, and what is your drink of choice?
I don't like dessert, so I'd probably skip dessert. There's definitely going to be some barbecue chicken pizza somewhere in there, maybe made by myself because I'm a pretty good cook. I'm going to have some pickles in there because pickles is my favorite food. And then I probably have to have a Chipotle burrito too because I love Chipotle. Maybe some Mission Taco as well. Maybe some Mission Taco.
Okay, so you cook. So what's your specialty? Do you have any?
I make homemade pizza, like I just said. I really like making pizza. I actually worked at a pizza restaurant in high school. I make a lot of rice and chicken, and I like vegetables. I don't really like fruit, but I'll make any kind of vegetable, so I add that to all my dishes.
Very cool. Okay, so in 10 years, where do you see yourself?
Still at the end of my career playing soccer. And as I said before, if I wasn't playing, I'd like to coach, so kind of going into a coaching role somewhere, hopefully.
Are there any pet peeves, things that really just annoy you that people do?
I hate people who consistently make excuses or come up with problems in their life. So, no matter what the situation is, they find a problem or find a way to come up with an excuse for something that happened.
So you're a positive, optimistic person.
I would like to think so.
Awesome. Well, Tyler, thank you so much for taking the time to get your fans to get to know more about you.
All right, thank you.
So a nice little piece on Tyler David as we are still at halftime here at Toyota Stadium. St. Louis with a 1-0 lead over Toronto FC2. Thanks for a goal from A.J. Cochran in the 23rd minute. But we'll head to another break, and after that we'll have halftime stats and highlights.
Todd's a great guy. I mean, look at him. What a sweetheart. Attaboy. Wait, Todd, what are you doing? How totally selfish and un-Todd-like of you. Come on, Todd. Come on, man.
We've raised the stakes. Expectations are high. Our biggest season yet will break records with elite players and future stars. Innovative technology and new homes. We're growing the game in our communities and across the nation. Are you ready?
We built the USL into the largest Division II professional soccer league in the world. And now the time has come to announce USL Division III, America's professional third division league, completing the U.S. pro soccer landscape. It's time for your town, your team, your game. D3 will fuel local pride and local passion, creating a new legacy for the beautiful game and inspiring its tribal following across the country. This is professional soccer, built on a disciplined financial model and operational excellence, featuring exciting venues to thrill fans, in hungry new markets yearning for the game. USL Division III, professional, passionate, proven. Pro soccer starts here, coming in 2019. For more information, visit USLD3.com.
Danny Koenig is getting back into form in his new home with FC Cincinnati. The 2015 Golden Boot runner-up scored 21 goals 2 seasons ago, but struggled to follow up that impressive performance, only adding 4 goals in 30 games for Oklahoma City Energy FC last year. On May 10th, a blockbuster early season trade sent Koenig to Cincinnati, having been held scoreless through 4 games with Energy FC in 2017. But that is no longer the case. Koenig has stepped into his new role for Cincinnati and found himself back in the scoring column, and also as the team's second leading scorer, tallying 3 goals in 3 appearances. Koenig finished with the brace in a 2-1 win against Bethlehem Steel FC, and led his team to a 1-0 win against Toronto FC2. Koenig's goal against TFC2 came moments after he was being treated on the sideline, He entered back into the game just in time to get on the end of a Tyler Polak cross. Those 2 wins were Cincinnati's first back-to-back wins of the season, both in front of more than 18,000 fans at Nippert Stadium. Koenig last scored in 3 consecutive games in July 2015. He will look to match that feat for Cincinnati in Week 11 against the Rochester Rhinos. For USL Network, I'm Morgan Conklin.
Back at Toyota Stadium, halftime here in Fenton, Missouri. St. Louis with a 1-0 lead thanks to a goal from A.J. Cochran in the 23rd minute. We're still moving along the Hollywood Casino halftime show. We'll be back with halftime stats and highlights when we return.
Stop living with joint pain. Take the first step at mercy.net/knee pain.
With pre-collision system, lane departure alert, and more, Toyota Safety Sense is an advanced suite of active safety technology, now standard at no extra cost on 14 Toyota models. Tested, trusted, Toyota. Get 0% APR financing for 72 months on a new RAV4, or get $2,000 customer cash. Toyota, let's go places.
The best things in life are free, but you can give them to the birds and bees. I need
There's really only one place where the carpets are always red and the stars are everywhere you look. There's no place like Hollywood. Hollywood Casino St. Louis.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
When I get all steamed up, then I shout.
Tip me over and pour me out. Oh.
It only takes a moment to make a moment.
Cheers.
Take time to be a dad today.
Stop living with joint pain. Take the first step at mercy.net/knee pain.
Second half kickoff coming up here in Fenton, Missouri. St. Louis FC with a 1-0 lead over Toronto FC2. Tyler Terrens along with Bruce Silverman. And we will take a look at some of the first half highlights as both teams would have a couple of chances early on.
Yeah, this is the first real push by Toronto, and it's a nice one. Ball sent through, nice header, just couldn't beat Gort.
Always tough to score on a header from about 18 yards out. That was Icom Andrews on the scene, Gorick making the save, and a lot of set-piece opportunities for St. Louis, and this one would be poked home by A.J. Cochran with his noggin.
Yeah, I love this play. A lot of activity inside the 6, and then you've got the man just sprinting in and knocking it home. Outstanding job by St. Louis.
Toronto FC2 left utterly helpless after that miscue on the set piece, and then on the other end, great individual piece of skill from Christian Valesky. He would find Dalgard, but he wouldn't be able to put it in.
Yeah, we talked about it in the first half. Dalgard is just going to have nightmares that he wasn't able to pull this one home. Maybe he took the shot a little bit sooner than he needed to.
And then just moments later, Telfer would come down on the other end, and Gorick would make a save, and he would actually injure his hand a little bit on this play.
Yeah, not exactly sure why, other than it had a nice bit of pace on it. Took his glove off for a moment, but was able to continue. Great ball by Angulo. Better save by Pace.
Take another look as Angulo threading the needle for Valesky, but Mark Pace was up to the task. The St. Louis native, as well as the former St. Louis FC man, was able to make the big save. And then this was probably the best opportunity of the night for TFC2, but a great challenge right at the last from Calbacetta.
Yeah, and the thing about this is Hundle just doesn't pull the trigger on the shot. When you're that close to the net, you have to take the shot, and he just didn't do it.
So that is how we would end the first half. A.J. Cochran's goal stands as the difference maker, and we'll take a look at some of the halftime stats. Surprised by anything up here, Bruce?
Other than maybe possession, because I would have thought that St. Louis had the ball more. But, yeah, this game really is pretty even with the exception of the scoreboard, because that's the only stat that ever matters, right? But I think there's a lot. Look, shots 5-2 on St. Louis, so the conversion rate better for St. Louis. But if you're Toronto, look, you're down by a goal, you're playing well, you're on the road. I just want to see them go station to station and push forward more. Maybe take one, they're playing this 3-4-3, maybe even push another guy up and try to get more on the attack. For St. Louis, I want to see Angulo get involved.
So right now we will take a look at St. Louis FC's upcoming schedule, and after not playing at home for the entire month of May, they have this game as well as a home game coming up against the Bethlehem Steel. And what we don't see up here, though, is a U.S. Open Cup match against the Chicago Fire. What a great night that is going to be here at Toyota.
And that one's going to be sandwiched in between Bethlehem and FC Cincinnati. Look, U.S. Open Cup is one of my favorite times of the year. It's an opportunity for anything to happen. It's a one-and-done situation, winner take all, and I love that for Toronto.
And for TFC2, a couple of home games against the Pittsburgh Riverhounds and OCB, and really this is starting to get into dangerous territory for Jason Benn's squad. They need to find a way to pick up points.
Yeah, and look, we've talked about it throughout the broadcast. 11 games, you only score in 3 of them. You get shut out 8 times. That's tough. That will wear on you. So right now, for them to be in this game, and I do believe they're in this game, there's an equalizer in there.
And now we will take a look at the Eastern Conference standings. And Bruce, I'm going to ask you this question, and I don't want you to go with the typical Charleston and San Antonio, but is there anybody out of the East that you see that could potentially threaten Charleston?
Tampa Bay to me is an enigma. They are a team that you look at them on paper. You got Joe Cole there, and you got Georgie there, and you've got great keepers. I expect them to really challenge to get out of the East and win this whole thing.
And on the West side, we were just talking about this at the break. You believe that San Antonio is a shoo-in to be in the USF Cup final.
Man, I look at San Antonio, and you've got Forbes and Castillo and Ali Hassan and Sean Chin. I mean, those are guys with a tremendous amount of experience in a really great soccer facility there at Toyota, another Toyota. For me, that is a fantastic franchise. And I would not be surprised when it's all said and done. It's San Antonio and Tampa for the whole thing.
All right, you heard it here first. Bruce Silverman on the scene, calling it right now. USF Cup final in about 4 or 5 months from now will be between San Antonio and Tampa Bay. Take it to the bank. But first, we've got 45 minutes to play here at Toyota Stadium. St. Louis FC up 1-0. A.J. Cochran with the goal in the 23rd minute, and we are underway for the second 45 minutes here, as St. Louis will start out with possession. If you're Preki, are you saying anything negative to your team in the locker room?
I want them to move forward. I want them to be a little bit smarter with their passes. I want them to move. The same thing I would tell Toronto. I want to go station to station. This dump and chase might work right here, but more often than not, it's not going to.
Well, there certainly has been space in behind the TFC2 back line, as Angulo and Valesky have found themselves with some space to play on a number of occasions, but that was snuffed out by the Toronto back line, who have done a decent job up until now, but they've given up a lot of set-piece opportunities to St. Louis, and that's how they converted on the lone goal, thanks to a beautiful corner in from Ali Hadzic.
Well, you also, with Toronto, they've got 5 clean sheets on the season. I mean, it's difficult. They got 7. They got 7 points because they got a bunch of draws in there. They only got 1 win, which is the game against Phoenix. But they have 5 clean sheets, which means they can play defense. They can keep you from mounting an attack like that.
Yeah, good job from Baksavic to cut that out. Christian Valesky was there on the scene, and then a nice sliding challenge on the near side from Wes Sharpie, who spent some time in a TFC2 uniform.
I think for Toronto, the big thing in the second half is to not lose their composure when things don't go their way. They're younger, they're less experienced, but they're going toe-to-toe with a club that has firepower, and they're doing a nice job. Look, you take away that set piece, and it's still a 0-0 game. And that also, Tyler, that also happened to be the best set piece that they had. The rest of them, they weren't that impressive. They didn't do much with them. That was one that really, really worked, and we were marking it up. I mean, if we had the telestrator, I would love to have those toys, right? but I was kind of motioning to you when that was going on, and I was kind of drawing it up on the screen when we were talking about it. There was a lot of traffic inside the 6, but it was a really smart play by the corner man to make sure that it went over everybody and got the sprinter.
Here's Pereira after a nice ball in from Andrews. Going out wide, Camargo has an overlapper on the right side. Camargo's still on top of it. He's going to come back. It's going to be a long-distance strike, but Devala Goric, a goalkeeper of his caliber, is never going to be troubled from that distance.
And the shame of that one is Telfer was all by himself. Why take the shot from basically Columbia, Missouri, right? So Telfer is all the way out, and he's all alone. You serve the ball there, a one-touch or a two-touch, and it's a 1-1 game. Why waste an opportunity like that?
St. Louis trying to counter on the other end. Here's Stoikov. Walls with a neat touch to get out of trouble there. And St. Louis will keep possession here. They are a very possession-oriented football club. Chip ball over the top for Valesky. Valesky with the touch. Did it cross the line? And it did. Christian Valesky doubles St. Louis's delight here at Toyota Stadium. It's a 2-0 lead for St. Louis FC.
Finally got past that back line. And credit to Valesky to make sure he stayed on side. Almost as impressive as the goal itself.
Christian Valesky with his 4th goal of the season, now tied with Jose Angulo for the team lead. Angulo provides the assist. And it is a wonderful night here at Toyota Stadium for St. Louis and the St. Louligans, as they have plenty to smile about. St. Louis, as we mentioned at the top of the broadcast and throughout the broadcast, have not played at home during the entire month of May, finally returning to Toyota Stadium. And in phenomenal fashion here, Christian Valesky with a great goal. And St. Louis in a great position to pick up their first 3 points in the USL since April 6th at the Pittsburgh Riverhounds.
Yeah, the tough thing for Toronto is they had a nice attack, and then right away, here comes St. Louis again.
Stoikov trying to get on the right side of Telfer, who came back for his defensive responsibilities, and Stoikov called for the foul there.
The goals that you don't score get scored on you, and there's a perfect example of that. For Toronto now, look, the toughest lead in soccer to hold is when you're up 2-0.
Nice challenge from Caballero, who has really been firm at the back all night long for Preki, as well as Devala Goric, as he did save one opportunity with the last-ditched effort, as Stanley trying to find Dalgard in the middle of the pitch. Camargo, a couple of nice touches, but broken up by Stoikov, and that is what he does at his best. He really is a piano lifter in the middle of the field. He does all the dirty work for Preki, breaking up the opposition's rhythm in the offensive third. And you just saw a great instance right there. And the flag is up on the far side. Jose Angulo started in an offside position as the smoke bombs are out here at Toyota Stadium. They have plenty to be happy about as their team came out of the locker room swinging here in the second half. And a nice play from Wes Sharpie to win a throw-in for St. Louis FC. Here's Stoikov. Looking for Valesky and ended up falling to Angulo. And the home side will just keep it here, and there's really no rush if you're Preki and St. Louis FC. And right on cue, the broadcaster's curse comes into play.
It's like showing up on Sports Illustrated. This is where St. Louis can take full advantage of being up by 2 goals. Toronto just needs to take their time. It's not about wins or losses for them. It's really about the development. So right now it's about how you answer. It's about your character. It's about what you do with the opportunities that you have.
And we'll take another look at the St. Louis FC goal, which is delivered to you by Domino's, as well as that man, number 9, Christian Valesky. And just a neat little touch over the former St. Louis FC keeper, Mark Pace, that just crept over the line as Toronto FC 2 coming down on the other end, and Wes Sharpie just going to make sure of that one, but surrendering a corner to TFC 2.
Nice chip by Valesky over Pace to make it a 2-0 game. Corner coming up. The services on these corners by Toronto have been off the mark. This is where I would love to see some type of really a good set piece, a good call where you get a spurting player like St. Louis was able to take advantage of. But a bullet like that isn't going to give you any opportunities. Ball's coming in with way too much pace.
Nice move from Andrews to get out of trouble, sending it towards the back post. Gorick off of his line, unable to hang on to it. Lots of contact. Here's a shot on goal, and it's just cleared off the line by Aiden Stanley. What a defensive play from the youngster. And the crowd here at Toyota recognizing last-ditch defending when they see it.
And Stanley taking one in his head, and he's down right now. A lot of chaos, but here, right there, gets the great shot off. Using his head is Stanley, and he is still down. And we talked about it in the first half. Cabocetta took one for a save and really thought that he was going to be out for a period of time. So for Stanley, he's still down. He's being attended to. Look, these are dangerous plays. There's a reason why people are concerned about using your head in this game. That's why you see some players actually wearing protective gear when they play this game. That was a rocket shot. It was from up close. Credit to Toronto in not giving up on that play. But one of the things that I noticed, and I wish we could go back to a play earlier in the match, and we'll take care of this corner here first.
St. Louis playing with 10 men at the moment. This delivery is good, and right on the scene was Telfer. Or it appeared to be. Might have been Baksavic, but either way, it was a good set piece. Finally getting good delivery from Pereira. Fans, stay up to date on the latest USL news and information from around the league. Tune into USL Coast to Coast with Mike Watts, Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Sirius XM FC, Channel 85. Also, don't forget, Sirius XM FC will air the USL Game of the Week. Please check USLsoccer.com for dates and times.
On these opportunities, one of the things that I've noticed about Toronto is they're just a second late on pulling the trigger on a shot or breaking towards the ball, or sometimes breaking the wrong way. In the first half, there was a great opportunity on a corner, and one of the members of Toronto ran away from the ball rather than to the ball. And in that particular play, it was actually going back to go forward. In the second you get away from the ball and now you realize you got to go forward, you've wasted too much time to get on it.
Here's a long distance effort. That was always going over the bar from Ali Hadzic, who has an assist on the night on the first goal from St. Louis, thanks to A.J. Cochran in the 23rd minute. Christian Valesky supplying the second goal by way of Jose Angulo, and that's why we are where we are at the moment. And TFC2 continue to have trouble keeping the ball out of the net, as well as just trying to pick up points. Angulo giving chase here, but it'll go all the way back to Mark Pace, who will clear it out of the area.
Yeah, that was a dangerous play. Toronto giving Angulo a little bit of space, and if he had a better line to the ball, it could be a 3-0 game.
Dalgard goes down. TFC2 will look to counter on the other end. Back heel for Camargo. Dalgard still down on the other end of Toyota Stadium. Vaksavic looking for the long penetrating ball, and Sebastian finally getting to his feet, just trying to walk it off here. And the pass for Telfer going out of bounds.
That pass a little too heavy, and again, I keep going back to it. You don't get a lot of opportunities to get the ball in that final third. You got to take advantage of it. So to go heavy on that or to service it in the wrong place, it's just wasted trips down the pitch, especially when you're down 2 goals on the road.
Aiden Stanley has returned to the playing field and now sent into space on the far side. 17-year-old will drop it back for Amir Ali-Savic. There's a nice header, but it goes out of bounds, and it'll be a goal kick coming for Mark Pace.
First time really this evening that Angulo has put himself in the middle of the pitch, in the middle of the match, in the middle of the mix. And you see, just couldn't flick it in the right direction. But I like the idea.
One of the tougher plays in this sport is just trying to snap the header on frame when it's coming from that sort of direction where you really need to get those neck muscles working. There are guys at the highest levels in the Premier League and in La Liga who make it look so unbelievably easy. But you could see there that Angulo just didn't get the pace needed behind it. As the referee says, play on. Pereira going for a no-look pass, trying to find Sean Hundle. But TFC2 win it back. Hundle harassed here by Ali Hadzic, who does a good job of winning the ball back. Angulo trying to send it for Christian Valeski, but that goes out of bounds. But can't say enough about the chemistry between Angulo and Valeski, who we talked about at halftime, just complement each other so well up top.
You know, they do, and they're getting more and more on the same page as the game goes on. You know, you look at that great pass that Angulo sent in the first half that Pace got to first, but it was slotted perfectly. The assist on the Valeski goal earlier in this half. There are a lot of good things for Toronto. They need to build on those things. For St. Louis, they just need to keep doing more of the same. The only thing that I would say, let Hundle do his thing.
Andrews trying to spray it out wide, but another good challenge right at the last from Stanley, who has done that on more than one occasion thus far.
The only thing, going back to the play that Angulo made with trying to flick it on frame, if the ball was at his feet rather than up in the air, this would be a 3-0 game.
Here he is with the ball at his feet. Cabosetta, who's had a fantastic match, sending it towards Jose Angulo, but over his head, and Mark Pace able to collect.
The one thing that Angulo's never going to be accused of is being tall.
Is that an accusation? Can you make an accusation on somebody like that?
I would say it to his face. No, Angulo is not one of the tallest guys in the world. And you just can't go over his head when you have an opportunity like that. Jose Angulo is so deadly with his feet. And so far we haven't seen, and I talked about it at the beginning of the game, if you service him properly, he will be a destroyer. But it's with his feet, not with his head. You get the ball to his feet and he's in front of the net, I promise you, he can make goalkeepers look foolish.
Well, that's something that Preki also talked about on our call with him this week, was just that this is a new team that has a lot of new players, and they're still getting used to each other. And it's no secret that in the game of football, you need to be able to know your teammates' strengths in order to be successful. As TFC2 goes short with the corner, chipped in.
Love that play. Absolutely love that play. Went short, made something happen. The only thing I would have liked to see more is the play inside the box rather than outside the box.
Walls brings it down a bit dangerously as it was close to his arm, but able to bring it down with his chest, and now sent down towards TFC2's defensive third. And we're getting word now that it looks like Tyler David is going to come on and replace the aforementioned Jose Angulo in just a few moments. Nice move on the outside. TFC2 in the area, trying to send it through, but it's cut out nicely by Wes Sharpie, who is on the scene. Valesky holding things up for St. Louis FC.
Opportunity for Toronto on the counter right now.
Andrew striding forward, going to take a long-range effort, and Bruce Silverman, you're not exactly happy with that decision.
You got a teammate that's on your left. Why take the shot from 25 out when you can turn around and slide it forward and keep the play going? It's a shame. They're a little impatient, and when they have the opportunity, they just take it too soon.
And there you see number 19, the former USL MVP in 2013, making his way off the pitch a bit too slowly, and that we'll see a yellow card from Jose Guzman issued to Angulo, who is now making his way off the pitch and will be replaced by Tyler David. And this substitution brought to you by G&W Meats, as the halftime feature man Tyler David finds his way onto the pitch in the 64th minute. Jose Angulo's day is done. Your thoughts on his day at the office?
When he got involved, I thought that he was effective. Certainly has an assist. Could have had an assist in the first half. It's silly to pick up a yellow card when you're being substituted for. Just walk off the pitch, because we'll get to that.
David back for Stoikov, who has a rip and never really opened up his hips to try and get it on frame, and it'll be a goal kick for Mark Pace, you were saying.
Look, yellow cards are cumulative over the season. Nobody wants to miss a game because you picked up too many cards. So a delay a game yellow card to me is always very silly. You see it at the end of the game on keepers, which it's silly, but on a substitution, it's just a waste.
In the 64th minute, no less.
And you're up by 2. This is not the last game of his career. He's not taking a bow. It's just, that could be a card that comes back to haunt Angulo and haunt St. Louis going forward. Excellent ball.
Beautiful football from St. Louis FC. Valesky latches on to the end of this one. Going 1v1 here, but there's a great challenge. As Stoikov battles with Telfer on the near side. Telfer somehow coming away with it, splitting 2 St. Louis defenders. Soccer fans, Nike is an official sponsor of the USL. For more information, visit nikesoccer.com.
St. Louis actually getting stronger as this game has gone on. They're more in sync. They're really exerting their will on Toronto. Toronto's kind of falling out of favor right now. Whatever pace they were able to play on earlier, I think that second goal kind of took a little air out. But also it's a patience thing, and maybe that's just a maturity thing, that they need to be more patient and they need to take better shots, and they've wasted the opportunities. Sometimes I feel like Toronto has found themselves in that final third and went, oh my God, we're here. We haven't been here in a while. Let's take a shot. And unfortunately, that hasn't worked out for them. I would love to see them get to the final third, do more with it. There's that dump and chase. They got away from that earlier in the match.
Ali Hodzic with a neat touch to get around the first defender, but showed too much to Luis Pereira. Savic going out wide for Telfer, as you can start to see that Toronto may be running out of gas a little bit here. They're usually much more lively in the attacking third, taking their time here. St. Louis claiming the ball went out of bounds. Christian Valesky on top of it now, looking to blow past Fraser, who makes a great challenge. And one more touch, Christian Valesky would have been in looking for number 2.
Outstanding defensive play. Looks like we'll have another substitution coming up for St. Louis, which kind of surprised me. And looks like also Toronto will make a change too.
Telfer chipping it in towards Andrews, and Tony Walls with a very savvy play.
Unforced error by Gorick will.
Not sure whether or not he thought that he could pick that up, or it looked like for all in the world that Tony Walls headed the ball back and allowing Gorick to try and scoop it up, but it'll be a corner kick for TFC too.
See if Toronto can make them pay for that mistake. Headed it back. It was just couldn't decide how he wanted to play it.
Perhaps he was just trying to waste time by chesting it down and forcing TFC2 to come and play it.
Looked like indecision to me more than anything else.
Andrews with a strike, and Gorick making sure of that one and falling on top of it in dramatic fashion.
I think that's the first shot on frame they have had in the second half.
St. Louis has certainly been on the front foot in the opening 20 minutes of this second half. Substitution, Tyler David. David doing well to hang on to the ball, and St. Louis will come out on the other end. And you might see TFC2 really start to open up here, send numbers forward, try to turn over St. Louis as Mark Pace off of his line, denying Christian Valesky yet again. And Wes Sharpie with a 2-arm shiver in the back.
And that will bring the substitutions in.
And it's going to be Octavio Guzman coming in and replacing Dragan Stoikov. And it looks like it's going to be Johnson replacing Sean Hundle. So those are the changes made by Jason Bent as well as Preki. And a nice round of applause from the home fans here at Toyota Stadium, as Dragan Stoikov always putting in a hard shift, as this substitution is brought to you by G&W Meats.
So with Johnson coming in, that's another goal scorer. Johnson had a goal.
Well, there aren't many of them on this TFC2 team.
you could count them on one hand minus a couple of fingers. But now you have 2 of the 3 goal scorers for Toronto on the pitch right now. And Telfer's had a nice game tonight. Hundle didn't have a bad game at all, was just a little late in trying to pull the trigger on some of his shots. You got Johnson, who's already in the mix.
Pereira sending it out wide for McCrary, who does well to keep it in. Camargo on the right side is Stanley, now trying to slip it through, but just out of the reach of his comrade. Now sent towards the back post. Sharpie, a bit of a miscue there, and gives up a corner, and you can see Devala Gorick not exactly thrilled with his backline's positioning on that play.
Earlier in the development of that play, you had a ball just outside the 18, was slid through, but the timing on the pass wasn't there. If the timing's there, there's a shot on goal for Toronto, but the timing's not there and the opportunity's missed. Nice opportunity right now for Toronto. I'd like to see them either get that ball up in the air and try to get somebody sprinting in, or go short and make a play on it.
Ball towards the back post as Prairie chipping it back in. Stanley just going to try to see this one out of bounds. Does nicely, and it'll be a goal kick for Devala Gorick.
Heads up play by Stanley to usher that one out. And Gorick's going to take his time just enough not to pick up another card like Angulo did, but he's going to send everybody forward on this. Less than 20 minutes to go in this game. St. Louis has the matter well at hand. It's a matter of how the two teams kind of finish this one off. If Toronto can get on the board, they might be able to change some things, but there hasn't been a lot in their play as of late that tells me that they can actually beat Gorick.
Fans, the USL is one of the most prominent second division professional leagues in the world, featuring some of the game's top talent and rising stars. Stay up to date with all the latest league news and information by visiting www.uslsoccer.com and follow them on Twitter @USL.
St. Louis isn't giving much in terms of passing lanes to Toronto right now. Anybody with a white jersey that puts their foot on the ball, they're getting surrounded. It's a great defense by St. Louis, and Toronto just has to be patient. They have to continue to look on those one-touch passes to move the ball forward. They're just getting a little jumpy.
Nice build-up here from St. Louis. Guzman just into the game. Delivers a nice service. Brought down. Dalgard going for goal. And it's collected by Mark Pace, and Dalgard looks like took a shot on the boot on that play.
Take a look. If it was contact, it might have been the shot and then the
landing
follow-through.
on it, yeah.
The follow-through might have clipped the Toronto defender.
Maybe rolled his ankle on the way down. No Zaza Pachulia there, though, to make things interesting, though.
Toronto deciding to switch sides and take their chances from the right.
Ball over Guzman's head for Telfer. Now along the byline for Johnson with some neat footwork around the first defender. Still with it, gets tripped up. No call from Jose Guzman, and it will be a goal kick. But a nice effort there from TFC2, and the substitution, Malik Johnson, making an impact right away.
It's a shame that Johnson, who was doing a great job of getting towards Gorick, decided to break towards the line rather than into the 18. If he had kind of maybe played it to the left, then come back to the right, I think he would have been able to get a shot off. He played it to the left and started going towards the line, lost the opportunity, lost the angle, and as a result, Gorick kicks it away. Another opportunity for Toronto. They'll pull up the brakes and slow it down before going forward.
Paksavic going out wide for Telfert. He's been busy all match, matched up 1v1 with Sharpie. Telfert getting delivery in, cut out by Cochran. Malik Johnson on top of it now. Still Johnson. Looking to get on the right side of Walls as Johnson goes down. No call from Jose Guzman.
Another example of Toronto on the ball and not moving fast enough to pass it. Johnson was asking for the ball, and by the time he got it, his opportunity to turn on it was already gone.
Bit of a miscue there from St. Louis, forcing Devala Gorick to have to clear it out to avoid the corner kick. And Gorick goes down.
So St. Louis will make their third substitution.
Rarely see that, a goalkeeper cramping up. As Toronto making their final two substitutions, along with St. Louis making their final one. So Luis Pereira as well as Camargo finished their day in the 76th minute. And a substitution brought to you by G&W Meats. And it'll be Dennis Ahmedovich replacing Sebastian Delgard. And he, although he wasn't on the score sheet tonight, he had some very good plays, looking extremely dangerous in the attacking third. And he's been in good form. He had the brace against the Michigan Bucks on Tuesday in the U.S. Open Cup match.
Had a shot on goal just a few minutes ago. Nice nice job, nice work for him.
Fans, stay up to date on the latest USL news and information from around the league. Tune in to USL Coast to Coast with Mike Watts, Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on SiriusXM FC, Channel 85. Also, don't forget, SiriusXM FC will air the USL Game of the Week. Please check USLsoccer.com for dates and times.
Ucello in the game for Toronto. So all 3 goal scorers on the season now on the pitch for Toronto.
Throw in here for TFC2, who have been on the front foot in the past few minutes. A lot more of the possession, but St. Louis happy to surrender what has been mostly meaningless possession to Jason Bent's squad, who really have just not been able to find that final penetrating ball, as Telfer getting tangled up here, forgot something momentarily, and Octavio Guzman getting his team a throw-in.
Yeah, St. Louis right now just up 2 goals are really showing why they're the better club. They're giving St. Louis a little bit of space, but then they're shutting it down, and because Toronto is just not moving fast enough, they're not making decisions fast enough. They're thinking instead of just reacting and playing, and that will come with experience.
Baksavic. Telfer again. Going for the early delivery, and Cochran cut it out. A bit of miscommunication between him and Gorick. But Sharpie keeping it in play, and now David along the sideline for Guzman. Now here's Valesky, already with a goal tonight. His 4th of the season. Him and Jose Angulo now tied for the team lead.
And it's kind of what you want. You got 2 strikers. You want the goals to be close. You don't want one guy with 10 goals and another guy with 2.
David with some neat footwork. Very clever on the far side. Was going to slow it up in St. Louis with the clock on their side. They're just going to hang on to possession and make TFC2 work, although they cough it up here. There's a great challenge in the middle of the pitch from Tony Walls. He's been doing that his entire career. Now Sharpie moving forward. Still with it. Johnson nipping at his heels. Guzman.
This is basically what St. Louis needs to do for the rest of the game, is just play keep away.
Soccer fans, Nike is an official sponsor of the USL. For more information, visit NikeSoccer.com. Here's David again. St. Louis oozing with confidence, up 2-0 on their home turf for the first time in over a month. Sharpie going right at Telfer, squares it across. Here's a shot, and it just goes right across the face of goal. It did take a deflection, so it'll be a St. Louis corner.
Great ball movement by St. Louis. A number of opportunities from all sides of the 18. They weren't able to capitalize. Right now, this is basically what St. Louis is going to do for the next 10 minutes. They're just going to one-touch it all over the pitch. And if Toronto gives them an opportunity to score a goal, they're going to take it. Otherwise, they're just going to put on a passing clinic for all the kids that are in attendance.
This corner brought to you by Electro Savings Credit Union. Ali Hadzic already with an assist off a corner tonight. Can he provide one more? And a goal that would surely seal all 3 points. It's a looped ball. Mark Pace off of his line, and he's able to collect.
For Toronto, you just want to finish this game on a high note. You don't want this to be the 9th game of the season that you don't score in. And if you don't score, at least you know that in the last 10 minutes of the game, you push forward with as many opportunities as you could.
And Calvacetta goes down and goes down hard. Motioning to the official, Jose Guzman, that he doesn't need medical attention.
He's had a rough night,
to say the least. Took a shot off of his head right at the last of the first half, and now walking off a stinger here at the end of the second. And seemingly okay, but he has put in quite a shift alongside A.J. Cochran in that center back role. TFC 2 trying to find their way back into this game. A goal now would certainly make things interesting. Goes out wide for Telfer. He's got some space. Telfer trying to bend it around the back line. Takes a deflection, and it's another corner for TFC 2, and you're holding your hands up, Bruce Silverman. It seems like the same story.
Yeah, Telfer he takes too long to get it to that favorite foot to take the shot. It's an opportunity where if you can't get it off on the right, get it to that left foot and maybe shake and bake a little bit to make something happen. By the time he got that shot off, defender's in the way.
Another corner. Goric with strong fists. Alihadzic helping it along. Only as far as Daniels, and the ball will trickle out of bounds. And it'll be another goal kick coming for Devala Goric. And this has sort of been the story for Toronto FC2 all season. They just cannot seem to find it, whatever it may be, in the final third, only with 3 goals this season. With Telfer, Malik Johnson, and Uccello being the goal scorers.
And the thing that I was taking a look at going into this game, they scored at the 8-minute mark, the 10-minute mark, and the 30-minute mark, and the 3 games they scored. Once they got out of that 30, I was concerned about them going forward, and rightly so. There was another opportunity. Pass was off the mark, and you have Gore kicking it away.
Valesky bringing it down, but obviously up 2 goals. St. Louis not throwing a ton of numbers forward. And they're just going to play possession here. Fans, after the final whistle, head over to twitter.com/STLFC to vote for your Pleats Man of the Match. Guzman with a nice flick. Trying to get to the byline, but shoved off of the ball by Ryan Telfer.
Telfer, for me, has had the best game for Toronto 2 tonight.
David finding Guzman. That takes a heavy touch. That'll roll all the way towards Mark Pace. Hasn't been exactly the ideal homecoming for Mark Pace, who is originally from St. Louis, Missouri. Probably has some friends and family in the stands. Used to wear the green, blue, and white. Giving up 2 goals, but not much that he could do about either of them, with his defense falling asleep on a set piece, as well as a fantastic ball in from Angulo, and Valesky just had to chip it over. Pace, who was forced to come off of his line.
Nice job by Walls.
Here's Telfer again after the deflection. Sharpie has done well to keep him quiet. The ball into the middle. headed by Andrews. Telfer doing a good job to just keep it in play, but gets caught in a St. Louis FC triangle, and Guzman just going to send it up the sideline, hoping for Christian Valesky. And Valesky going to get called for the foul as he gave Baksavic a shove in the back.
Yeah, Telfer was trying to get that ball into the middle and picked up two defenders who just really cut down what he could do with that center.
Into the 87th minute here at Toyota Stadium. St. Louis FC on top thanks to goals from A.J. Cochran and Christian Valesky. As Telfer blown offside, as well as knocking over some of the advertisement stands here at Toyota Stadium. Fans, the USL is one of the most prominent second division professional leagues in the world, featuring some of the game's top talent and rising stars. Stay up to date with all the latest league news and information by visiting www.uslsoccer.com and follow them on Twitter at USL.
St. Louis will play it down the line. David now on the right. And they'll just take their time.
Be a foul against Toronto FC 2, as St. Louis will be able to move a little bit further up the pitch.
Guzman not happy that that play started as quickly as it did. Makes St. Louis do it again.
Valesky with a neat touch. Just trying to hang on to it in the corner.
You noticed on that, he's over there in the corner, and there's nobody jumping into the 18 for St. Louis. Toronto was playing defense and playing inside the box, giving plenty of room for St. Louis to play through, and they all hung back.
Stanley brought down, and some of the St. Louligans in the corner not exactly thrilled that there wasn't a call as the ball pops up into the stands here at Toyota Stadium. Just a minute left in the 90, and then we'll head into stoppage time. James going out wide. Some moves here from Alseth, getting around Stanley as well as Walls. Ahmedovich having to come back now. Alseth, the Syracuse product, doing well here.
And there's a name we really haven't said in the second half.
Ball sent towards Telfer, cut out by Sharpie. Baksavic being hounded by Valesky, splitting two defenders.
And there's a situation where great individual effort and nobody comes to help out.
We're now getting word that we're going to have 4 minutes of stoppage time here after the 90. Stoppage time brought to you by Hot Shots. Be sure to visit one of the 12 local Hot Shots' locations after the match. Well, if you're Preki, you couldn't ask for a better performance at home after not playing at Toyota Stadium for over a month. On the road during the entire month of May, and now coming back, and for all in the world, it looks like you're going to pick up your first 3 points in the USL since April 6th. They've had some draws along the way as well as some heartbreaking losses. So this is certainly how you want to start the month of June.
Great homecoming for St. Louis, great homecoming for the fans. They've been waiting for this, and this is a win that St. Louis can build on. They got stronger as the game went on. The workmanship by the teammates got better, and the goals were timely. They were crucial for Toronto, I think there's things that you can build on if you're Toronto. They just got to move faster. It seems at times, especially young players, you want to think you have speed and that you can run a little bit faster than maybe a guy who's in his 30s. And just the decision-making for Toronto is what I think did them in tonight. They thought about it, and by the time they actually made the decision to do it, it was too late to do anything with it.
Be a foul against Toronto FC2, and maybe an opportunity for a third here for St. Louis, and maybe give the home crowd one last thing to cheer about before the final whistle blows. But it looks like they're just going to play it short and just try to see out the clock, and this is where the veteran play comes into effect. Not going to try to do anything crazy here, just want to see the game out.
Yeah, no reason to do something that can get you in a counter situation on defense. Just play it into the corner, run out the clock. I mean, Toronto doesn't want to give the ball away. That could have been a very dangerous play right there.
Well, Christian Valesky, no matter what the score, is just going to try to put the ball in the back of the net at all costs as he gets called for a foul there.
And it's probably going to be the final push for Toronto on the evening. Before you get on the plane, maybe you make a memory before you get on the plane, something that you can hang your hat on at the end of the night. There it is. It's the Telfer. Can he chase it down?
Telfer sending it towards the back post, but it looks like the ball went out of bounds. Devala Goric with a thumbs up to the far side official. And Cabacetta going down, perhaps cramping up here as we are approaching the final moments of this massive match here for St. Louis FC. They certainly needed 3 points. They're going to get all three. And they're heading into a massive couple of weeks. The USL match, in addition to the fourth round of the US Open Cup, hosting Bastian Schweinsteiger and the Chicago Fire on June 14th at home. And there's the final whistle, and you can see what it means to the team in green. 3 points after not being at home for over a month. And they give their fans something to cheer about. That man was fantastic, as well as the entire squad for St. Louis FC. And Precky's got to be all smiles at the end of this one. As the final score here from Toyota Stadium, St. Louis FC 2, Toronto FC 2-0. We'll be back with final stats and highlights when we return.
With pre-collision system, lane departure alert, and more, Toyota Safety Sense is an advanced suite of active safety technology, now standard at no extra cost on 14 Toyota models. Tested, trusted, Toyota. Get 0% APR financing for 72 months on a new RAV4, or get $2,000 customer cash. Toyota, let's go places.
The best things in life are free, but you can give them to the birds and bees. I need
There's really only one place where the carpets are always red and the stars are everywhere you look. There's no place like Hollywood. Hollywood Casino St. Louis.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
When I get all steamed up, then I shout.
Tip me over and pour me out. Oh.
It only takes a moment to make a moment. Cheers. Take time to be a dad today.
Full time back at Toyota Stadium. St. Louis FC, the home side, getting all 3 points. Thanks to A.J. Cochran as well as Christian Valesky, and a gutty performance at the back from the likes of Cochran and Calvacetta. We'll jump right into the highlights from the game. And Bruce, we expected this from St. Louis, probably expected this as well as Toronto FC too, just unable to find the back of the net, and it was A.J. Cochran who got things started.
Yeah, it was an outstanding corner, and it followed a number of wasted opportunities on corners. So that was a great play, well called. Cochran using his head. Number of players in St. Louis using their head tonight. A few of the guys are going to have headaches until the morning. Good save by Gorick right there. Hurt his hand on it, but continued throughout the match. And as the day turned to night, opportunities for Toronto.
And there was a great challenge right at the last from Calvacetta. It was Camargo who was the orchestrator, and just right at the last was the tackle from number 30.
Yeah, Handel was calling for the ball, and it just got there too late. This one chipped over Pay's outstanding ball from Angulo over to Valesky. His 4th of the season. Angulo gets the assist on that one. And now we have both of the goals already on tape. Opportunity for Toronto. Stanley uses his head, and that's going to sting.
And the chances would continue to come for St. Louis. They would be unable to find the back of the net for the rest of the game, and TFC2 would try everything in their power to get something going, but that was probably one of the most dangerous looks in the second half, and it really wasn't that dangerous.
No, it was the cleanest shot that they had. It just didn't have a lot of pace on it. It was from way too far out.
And then it would be Octavio Guzman sending it into the box. An opportunity for Sebastian Delgard, who looked lively all game.
He checked out of the game shortly after that shot. And that says it all for Calvacetta tonight. He did it everywhere, and he is going to enjoy the sleep he's going to get tonight.
Absolutely, and we'll take a look at some of the full-time stats. As you can see, the possession was split, and it would be TFC2 who would end up getting more shots, but at the end of the day, there's really only one stat that matters, and for anybody who watched the 90 minutes, you could just tell that St. Louis looked dangerous at times. They looked like they were going to put the ball in the back of the net. They did, and for TFC2, despite the good opportunities that they had, it never really looked like they would get up on the scoreboard.
No, and unfortunately for them, I thought they played a nice match. Unfortunately, it also ends up in their 9th scoreless game.
Great scenes here at Toyota Stadium as St. Louis FC and their players celebrating with the St. Louligans and all the supporters here in Fenton, Missouri, as they have been famished for some good football here, as they've been over a month without their squad back in Fenton and celebrating the 3 points. And St. Louis's next game will be against Sekou Kone and the Bethlehem Steel on June 11th, and then they'll take on the Chicago Fire in the 4th round of the U.S. Open Cup. But for my producer, Abraham Aponte, our director, Scott Ferguson, our replay operator, Jonathan Teletcher, as well as my broadcast partner, Bruce Silverman, I am Tyler Terrence, signing off, where the final score here from Toyota Stadium, St. Louis FC 2, Toronto FC 2 0. Christian Valesky and A.J. Cochran, the goal scorers. Thanks for joining us, folks. We had a blast. We hope you did as well. We'll talk to you soon.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League may not be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the express written consent from the United Soccer League.